Goodness.
And I see it. It's a red box right in front of me. Inside that red box is the word live. I'm, of course, consulting my host manual. That means, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Our guest this evening is a brave soul. I've been looking forward to having this conversation for quite some time and want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. If you love what we do here, check out talkshop.live to view hundreds of the very best artists who, by the way, have autographed their albums for fans just like you. As if this gentleman needs an introduction, I'm going to put him to work right away and ask if he would be so kind to introduce himself to you fine folks out there.
Well, hello out there in Talk Shop Land. Quite a number of decades, and I still find miraculous things to listen to play to, and to immerse myself in. So glad to have everybody out there.
Yeah, and I just want to add a little bit more to what Lenny says, a career that's spanning more than a half century, but we're not counting. Likely known
I'm counting.
counting. You'd best known probably as founding member of Patti Smith's band, who recently celebrated 50 years of that game-changing great album, Horses. He was also the curator of one of my all-time favorite compilation albums, the landmark Nuggets album, Original Artifacts of the first psychedelic era. In fact, I would suggest that album was a blueprint for Little Steven's underground garage. And if he was making money, hopefully Lenny was getting some residuals from that. But Steven keeps saying he's not making money, so who knows? But enough about Steven. He's also been a successful record producer, just to name a few: Suzanne Vega, Soul Asylum, James, Kristen Hersh, Jesse Coulter, and Allen Ginsberg, as well as spending time as a member of Jim Carroll's band. Just an incredible resume. Equally known as a writer, he scribed Waylon Jennings' autobiography, a brilliant read, and many other great writings. In fact, I would love to have this guy back to talk about his written work. However, tonight we're celebrating, get this, the man's very first solo album. I couldn't believe it at first, and you're absolutely going to enjoy this one. So with that, if you would, buckle up. Let's kick this show off. Sam, if you would, roll the video.
Thank you, Steve. You made it very easy for me.
I always like to roll that video and it gets my adrenaline going. You know, I'm amped up to 12 now. Why? Because it's one more than Nigel's 11. But I was already amped up before the video, to be honest. As I said, I'm Steve Harkins, and I'm the host on the Rock and Roll Channel on Talk Shop Live. Once again, please welcome to Talk Shop Live's Rock and Roll Channel, a true Renaissance man, the brilliant Lenny Kaye. Lenny, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Steve, a total pleasure. I love to talk to the people out there in the wildness of web world. And, you know, we're going to have a good time for the next hour.
Absolutely. And where do we find you this fine evening?
I'm at my home in Northeast Pennsylvania, very close to the Delaware Water Gap, about an hour and a half from New York City if the traffic is good. And you know, like they said when I first moved out here, kind of shocking to me. You cross the river from New Jersey and it says America starts here. And I do believe that, actually.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible, especially on the heels of the 250th anniversary, right?
Oh, yeah.
So want to say, fans, if you'd like to ask Lenny a question or you have a comment, use the chat function. We'll get to as many as possible. Lenny, I say this to a number of our guests and truly feel this, that, you know, while you're associated with being an entertainer and the entertainment business, what you do is far more important, especially, I think, when you consider today's somewhat contentious climate. It seems like the one common thread that we have in terms of bringing people together is is music. So whether you're setting foot on stage, whether it's doing a theater gig or a club gig or introducing new music, again, you bring people together regardless of their religious convictions or political affiliations. So thank you for what you do. As I said, it's really important, especially now.
Well, I feel very honored to be a musician. I think musician speaks to the common humanity of all of us. It touches our emotions. It gets there. It just, kind of worms its way in and reminds us that we're a very lucky species to be able to make music. And I just think it's one of the highest callings of being a human being, and I'm so grateful that I can participate in it and and be a part of it.
I think that's really important words that you said, and and I often say, yes, you make some conscious decisions as far as the direction you're taking, and in this profession, but just as much so, it chooses you. I think.
Well, the direction I chose is to make music for the sheer joy and the creative exhilaration of making sound and having it affect people as it affects me. I mean, one of the things about music is that it takes place in the present tense. When you listen to it, you are in the moment between one note to the next. That's where you are. You're hearing it and participating in it in the present tense. It's not happening in the past. It's not happening in the future. It's elevating you at that very moment. And, that's why I like to see music. I like to listen to it. I like to see it live. And of course, I love to perform it.
Yeah, well said. And, congratulations on your Shock of Shocks very first solo record. I had to double, I'm not great at fact checking, although, I don't use Wikipedia for these events that much. But man, I had to go back and think for a second. Is that right? Is that not a typo? How could this be his first solo album? And you made a statement that you said you thought this album will surprise those who think they know you from what you've done previously. That these songs are really personal and that they were written over a period of years, and you've kept them to yourself.
I don't write many songs for myself, maybe one, two a year. I like to chew on a song. I like to understand why I'm writing a song because there's so many songs coming out every day. You have to have a song that means something. And a
Yeah.
lot of times these songs are ways in which I work out, you know, relationships, how, space and time, what I think. Songwriting is a good way to take your kind of inner thoughts and consciousness and make it something that you can look at like a piece of art and see how you feel about it. And a song will tell you where it wants to go and why it wants to go. I've written many songs with people over the years, but to
Right.
be honest, some of these songs just grew out of my sense of needing to understand a situation, a moment in time, or who I happen to be at that moment in time.
Yeah, so and I was remiss, I think, in not mentioning that the album is entitled "Goin Local." We're going to talk about that in a second, but getting to back to the songwriting, how do you stay honest and trust your instincts with this magical process? And I also love this other statement you made, which is, I believe a song exists because there's a need for it to be written to get in touch with a deeper emotion that needs to be sung. I'm gonna frame that on my wall. I think that's absolutely
Well,
spot
thank you.
on.
I mean, a song, I mean, a lot of times you write a song for purpose. I'm not writing these songs to have hit singles, if such a thing exists. I'm writing them to reveal who I hope to be, my best self, in terms of understanding myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's a great process to be able to do this without expectation. I don't think I'm going to suddenly break bigger than I already am. I have a very long past that I can draw on, that I can feel together about. But really, this is kind of who I am at this moment in time, drawing on the experience I've had for, you know, countless years, and
Right.
and 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 just being able to go into a studio for 6 or 7 hours and do my creative work, understand the recording process. I am a record producer, so I can look at my work, you know, almost dispassionately, as if I'm not the artist, but you know, what does the song need? What is it telling you? And a song will tell you very, very roughly sometimes what it wants to be. You can't push a song around.
Right, right. And I'm also interested in the process of sequencing, considering that this is your very first solo record. Sometimes artists and producers agonize over it. Usually it's pretty easy to land on that opening track and that closing track, but then how do you get the kind of flow where you just feel, this is about an album, a body of work, not just a single sampling of a song. And how did you go about that process? And what, were you at all tortured with that process of trying to find the right sequencing?
You know, I mean, I was more tortured by trying to finish these songs, some of which go back 15 years. I mean, some of the songs I began with Tony Shanahan,
Yeah,
who, you know, is the bass player and keyboard player for Patti Smith. You know, I've known him for 30 years,
right.
ever since we were in the Slaves of New Brunswick together.
Yeah,
Um, you know, a lot of them go back a long time. I've written some in the intervening time, and I just felt it was time for artistic closure for these songs. I'm
yeah,
proud of them. I feel like they have worth, which is something. And I just thought, let's just do something to make them real. And so when I had
love that.
the dozen of them assembled, you know, I just looked at what's the strongest, what one reveals the most as you get into the record. And it is a journey. I mean, you know, these days I'm not sure people listen to albums as a whole, but that's how I grew up. I like to have a sense of an album as a journey, as a kind of unfolding. And so they just kind of fell to hand, really. They ordered themselves. They they got in
Yeah,
line.
yeah, yeah. And what about you kind of touched on it, this resurgence of vinyl? I mean, for all intents and purposes, there was a period of maybe 20 years or so when the format was legally declared, dead to the world. And this is not cutting edge technology. And yet
Well, it
it's
is
it's
cutting edge
back.
technology because that needle is in the groove and it's slicing it around.
Yeah,
Um, to me, a vinyl is great. It's a big package, so you can see the liner notes. You know, it looks really good. It's not like a little small thing. But in the end, it's a storage medium. You know,
yeah,
I listened to the CD version of the album. It sounds great. You know, there might have been a time when CDs were brittle and they hadn't gotten the technology together, but now a CD sounds as good as a vinyl, maybe a little more trebly, you know, but I don't listen to music like that. You know, I have I'm into 78s. You know, I bought a Voice of Music half console player from a friend of mine and got it,
wow,
you know, stored. And you know, it's from the 1950s. You put a 78 on it, and it kind of booms out of the thing. It's got great bass response, and you know, but in the end, we listen to the song. That's
yeah,
I know when I'm in the studio and mixing something and agonizing over whether the bass drum should be a little louder or a little softer and what's happening there. And I get a month later, I can't hear any of these things that I was perturbed about. All I hear is the song coming out. And, you know, if you have any kind of, you play or streaming or the car radio or whatever, if it's a great song, it's going to grab you.
yeah,
Everything else is just how you want to file your record collection.
exactly. And I just wanted to spend a few minutes just touching on some of the history and the amazing people that you've worked with. No particular order, but You performed with Jim Carroll's band. Your observations on being in his band? Just
Oh, I
curious.
knew Jim for a long time. I was there the first night that he performed with a band behind him. He was traveling with us in California. I don't know, this would be maybe in the middle 70s or something, 77, 78.
Yeah,
And our opening act, left the stage for some reason. I think they had knocked over my guitar and they were, I'm not mentioning any names, but they were, they thought they were too cool to open us up. So they weren't there. And so Jim just got up there and read poems. And with the Patti Smith group, we played behind him, gave him a little, you know,
amazing.
encouragement. And then he liked the feel of electricity behind him and went back to Bolinas, where he was living, and gathered a band around him, which was kind of great. Um, Playing in his band was fantastic. Jim was not a precious poet up there. He would be
Yeah,
getting down on one knee. He would be, we'd had stage divers. It was really
yeah,
exciting,
yeah.
and I just loved him. He was my brother, and I miss him. I miss him terribly. But I just
No
got in
doubt.
the mail today. They reissued the Jim Carroll Band's second album, which is the first time I played with him on that
Amazing.
album. It's called Dry Dreams.
Yep.
Came out on Fat Possum Records, and it just arrived in the mail. So even though I have the original copy, I'm going to put it on and enjoy Jim, because it's just a totally great artist, a great human being, and one of my best friends.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Also, another fascinating individual. I had the great pleasure of interacting with a few times, and most recently had his son on this great lost work that was discovered that had been shelved, and that, of course, is Waylon Jennings. And I'm just curious your recollections and what that experience was like working with him on that book.
Well, I was really like, you know, I had been in the studio for years, and I was starting to feel confined by the small enclosed room.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I met a guy named David Dalton, a writer who I knew, who had just done Marianne Faithfull's autobiography. And he recommended me to his agent, Tony Secunda, who had managed Procol Harum and The Move back in the day. And
Wow.
Tony arranged a meeting for me with Waylon. Waylon had already burned through two writers already. The first one tried to out-hip him, very impossible. And the
Yeah.
other one he knew too well, and it was not very spectacular. But yeah, and he didn't want to meet with me, but I went down there. I paid my own way, went to his office in the morning, and I told him, I said, Waylon, I know there's a lot of sex and drugs in your story, and we love those tales, but I want to find out what makes you go on stage for 250 nights of the year. And he said, Will, come on the bus. And that night I was on the bus with him from Nashville to Kansas City, and saw him play for the first time. And we got along famously. He didn't know anything about me. He kept saying
Yeah.
things like, you didn't tell me about that Suzanne Vega. I said, that's not my job to tell you. You're telling me. But we really got along well. To write somebody's autobiography is not as simple as it seems. It's a very strange literary genre where you interview 20 of his close associates, as much also, and gather like 30, 40 hours of transcription tape that you interview your subject, and then you
Yeah.
have to fold it together. It's a lot like being a record producer.
Right.
You have his way of speaking in your ear, and then you can elaborate on that. And I love the family. I love Shooter. Shooter
Yeah.
was 13 when I was hanging out down at Whalen's, and
That's
he
great.
loved to talk to me because I knew who White Zombie was.
Yeah.
I knew Metallica, and I also got to do a beautiful, beautiful record with his wife, Jessie Coulter,
Yeah.
because one morning I came down to the living room and she was sitting behind the piano with the Bible open to the Psalms and just singing away, not really songs, but just singing the Psalms. And I thought it was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. And after Waylon's passing, I was talking to her on the phone, and I said, Jessie, there's a record I would love to hear, which is you singing the Psalms. And so we went into a studio. I got a nice piano for her. We opened the Bible, no rehearsal, opened the Bible, put it on the stand, and she just sang. And by the end of the weekend, all first or second takes, I had 7. Came back the next year, I got the other 5, including the hit Psalm, the 23rd, because Jessie is a very spiritual person, almost beyond religion. She sees the light. And the record we made, which came out on Sony Legacy, I think in 2017, truly one of the most beautiful records I've ever been involved with.
That's my homework assignment now, Lenny.
Oh, it's so amazing. And, it took me 10 years to finish it because, to be honest, I know I wanted to make each cut different. It was just mostly her and a piano. Occasionally I would go out and play with her as she developed this. But, I don't want to do boom chick, boom, boom chick and make it ordinary. So it took me a long time. Al Cooper played on 4 of the tracks. I had Bulgarian singers on another one. Jenny Muldaur sang. It's an incredibly beautiful record.
Looking forward to hearing it, and appreciate you sharing that. And, of course, last but certainly not least, and this is just skimming the surface on some many great artists that you work with, but when you reflect on the time you spent with Patti, what does she truly mean to you personally, not just professionally, but personally?
Personally, she means everything to me because she trusted me to follow her vision. She trusted me to understand where she might go and how to breathe with her. She trusted me to understand the many facets of her artistic personality, which are many, and that's why, and we're best friends, we're almost brother and sister at this point. When we were on tour, one of the things we like to do is just leave the hotel and go for a random walk and find some weird, street, find a bookstore. To go into a bookstore with Patti is one of the greatest experiences. She'll always go to the weirdest book in the place and say, you got to read this. And I have to read it. But she's just very sweet, totally generous, totally righteous, and totally all about art. That's why, that's what she's encouraged in me. I didn't get into this to make money. I don't mind getting paid. But on the other hand, I judge it by the work that I do, and the work that I do tomorrow. It's not just what I've done yesterday or 10 years ago or whatever. It's really, what am I going to do this morning when I wake up to further my creative energy? And that's one thing Patti taught me. And, we're not in this to be famous. We're not in this to at least one nice car, but not have 5. And I do have
not being greedy.
A 1961 Thunderbird, so I'm happy. But it is like, she is just my lodestar. She really, whenever I think about something, I always think, well, what would Patti think? And understand it through the prism of doing good work, because we're workers.
There's a number of fans that are really passionate about you and your work. And Jason, is asking the same question I was asking. How is this your debut solo record? So was it partly due to the fact that it takes you so long to construct individual songs for yourself?
I've been busy. I've written 3 books. I'm on the road with Patti, and sometimes you make yourself the last priority. Sometimes if I'm working on songs and I'm working with Patti, I'm not writing songs for me. I'm writing songs with her in mind.
Right.
So, in the end, I just put my, and there was no rush. I mean, wasn't like people were knocking down my door, where's your solo record? I just put it together, in a sense, from my own sense of well-being. Like I said, I thought the songs had merit. They needed to be realized, and to find a studio, which was really helpful, 8 minutes drive from my house over by the Delaware River.
Incredible.
I could just book an afternoon, go over there, work for 6 hours. And, you do that for about a year and the songs pile up. I did it more for my own edification than anything else. And thankfully, Yep Rock, who is a really righteous and encouraging label, said to me, yeah, we want to do something with this. And so that makes me want to do something with it and actually finish these songs that I've had in my back pocket for so long.
Sounds like potentially there might have been some material that just didn't make it to the album. Is that fair to say?
I have songs that now that I have one album, I'm already thinking, wow, and I have some songs that I never have finished. So now it's time to finish it. And even in the time span since I finished the record and it went off to the pressing plant, I've written 2 new songs, which I'm in the process of recording. I like the process of creating music. I have this album, and then I have a band called Adrift from my local town, where it's a darker vision. The drummer is into Rush, the 6-string bass player is into industrial music of the 90s. And then there's me, and so it's a different part of, I feel like there's a lot of light energy in Goin Local, but with Adrift, there's a lot of dark energy. And I have both of those elements within my personality. So it's good to have 2 outlets to be able to explore my musical consciousness.
And it's not that we rehearse this, ladies and gentlemen, but Goin Local is a great segue into letting everyone know we're celebrating the one and only Lenny Kaye and his very first solo album, featuring 12 new tracks, and it was absolutely well worth the wait. And the album releases on Friday, July 17th. However, Rock and Roll Channel fans on Talk Shop Live can purchase their copies right here, right now. It's available on this really interesting, beautifully colored vinyl, also available on CD as well. And as Lenny's way of thanking you, fine fans, he's graciously agreed to sign a limited number of copies purchased here on Talk Shop Live. And to order your copies, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live. On Facebook, comment the word shop. We'll DM you a link. And if you're watching through YouTube, click the link inside the description. And the rest is quick, easy, and pain-free, unlike the slight arthritic condition that Lenny may have developed signing for you fine fans. But I have it on good authority, he is well on the road to recovery. So fear not. And in all sincerity, there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate the great artistry of Lenny Kaye than by owning a copy of this upcoming release, Goin Local. Lenny, if okay with you, how about if we hear some music from the album?
I'd love it. That's the privilege of making music so somebody can hear it.
Exactly right. And on that, here's the opening track from Lenny's very first solo album, forthcoming to release, Goin Local. Here's the title track, Goin Local. And if you would, Sam, please roll the digital.
couldn't tell you what to expect. I didn't think that you would leave me this way. I need to see you, I really, really need to see you, but I know you're just a borough away. Across the water, we're doing things we hadn't thought of, trying to keep our worlds collide. Find a jukebox, we like the same kind of rocks, late night on the Lower East Side. We're getting out of control, can't keep our hands up, going local like the watering hole. We got a spot on the dial, a little hideaway inside away, a place that we can do it in style.
Lenny, one of the reasons why I don't give out my home address is fans get really pissed off at me for cutting off great tracks right in the middle of them. But that is, for those that have been here on Talk Shop Live, that's how it works here. You want to hear the rest of it? You got to buy the album. That's my job to remind them, right?
You're here.
But I'll tell you what, man, right out of the gate, love this track. Great rocker, man. Great guitar riff and hook, man. That one, I'm totally signed, sealed, and delivered just by hearing that initial riff. And
Well,
I also, absolutely, and I love the vocal approach as well. That kind of hypnotic harmonizing and the vocal approach that you took, and some great lyrics as well to boot.
Well, it's fun. I probably don't go out as late as I did when I wrote that song. I mean, I have been known to dance to White Wedding at 3 o'clock in the morning on a table in New York City. But, it's just great. But, the thing is that the album is not that rocky. I mean,
Right.
there are some tougher tracks, but a lot of it is softer and more personal.
Yeah.
So, that we create multitudes within us.
Absolutely. Segues into this love and this love that keeps it on growing, this love that has no future past, this love that will keep on knowing until our die is cast. What drove this particular track? Do you recall?
Well, of course I recall. It's written about real situations. I mean, again,
Right.
this is about a relationship that is probably understanding that it has a lifeline,
Yeah.
and there's a sadness to that, but you
Yeah.
also want to memorialize that relationship and its beauty and the heart that both people have given to it. Not an easy song to write, and not an easy, everybody feels good at the end, right off into the sunset, forever after.
Right.
These are songs that sometimes you have a situation where it's right, but it's not gonna, it's just one of those things that you just have to understand as it comes to pass. And that's one of the reasons why I write songs, to capture a moment in time when love is balancing between here and there.
And
From the
as
heart.
tough as and as tough as it may be, do you find that process with the track like this, a song that you composed, is also somewhat cathartic as far as
Oh,
the exercise?
absolutely. I mean, that's, you try to understand it, you try to put it in perspective. You try to put the love that you share with
Mhm.
somebody in a perspective, and often these things are complicated, that you want to honor the person, and also be aware of the truths behind who you both are and who you both will be. And
Right.
sometimes the answer is kind of not as clear as you would like. And again, I just wrote them, and I tried to make them real, in a way that had no easy solution, because life does not have easy solution.
That's exactly right. If I Were You, another great track, and no plagiarism intended here in terms of my comment, but I have to say Tom Petty fans will embrace this one unquestionably. It has that spirit and that vibe. There's a wonderful mandolin solo and epic harmonizing with the vocal. It's a great lyric. If I were you and you were me, there'd be nothing left to fight about or disagree. What's the point of being we? If I were you and you were me, you say this, I say that. I may be a dog, but you're just a pussycat, living and loving the way that we be. That's the rhythm of our melody. Great lyric.
Well, thanks. Again, put two people in a relationship, and it's gonna, sometimes sparks fly in good ways and bad ways, and it's just a way of understanding, uh, you know, trying to put two human beings within one human being. And
Yeah,
sometimes it's easy and fun, and sometimes it's not easy and fun.
that's
And
right.
it's great. And speaking of Tom Petty, of course, I've been told that my voice has some Tom Petty aspects to it. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's more Roger McGuinn myself, but that's
I,
just me.
I think there's elements of Roger McGuinn for sure as well, but nothing to to be upset about. I think that's totally complimentary.
Totally. And I love Free Fallin', one of my favorite songs of all time.
I'll tell you what, this track, if it was in Tom Petty's canon in terms of his great vault of material, and he was still with us, I think he would be very much appreciative of this track. So again, kudos to you, but it's distinctly you, no question about that. At the end of the day,
Thank you.
let's make a memory. Great dramatic narrative, vocally. I love very very distinct, unique approach. And again, uh, love the lyric. There you are in your galaxy Ford. You're some kind of galaxy too. Got a scarf around your neck and a gleam in your eye, hair all waving in the wind, one hand on the wheel, the other on the radio, pulling in stations through the static. And when you find a song you like, you drum your fingers on the steering wheel. I mean, it's like you're taking us right there. I mean, you feel like you're right in the moment with those lyrics. And also, noteworthy, renowned jazz pianist Matthew Shipp plays on this track, which was a pretty big deal for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, he played great. Again, this is just a narrative of a moment in time
Yeah,
between someone who made my heart beat faster, and perhaps, as it says in the end, and I know sometime I'm going to make you cry.
yeah,
And these are real songs. I have to say, I'm not like assuming some weird persona or whatever. I'm writing these songs because I need to understand and commemorate and celebrate a moment with somebody who's made an impression and an impact in my heart and my life. And all I can say is, this is who we are, this is who we were, and what will be will be.
yeah. And also wanted to mention too in background vocals, Lisa Burns of the Loving Kind.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love her. She was married to Sal Maida, who we just lost
Yeah,
a while ago. Just a great, great New York singer. I've known her, Lisa, since the mid '70s, and it was great to have her sing along with me in the studio.
yeah, I'll bet for sure. And Benjamin Cartel saying, "Lenny, you rock. Thank you for the music always." And this is JM BS3YC. I have no idea what that moniker means, but clearly a fan. Lenny, great show. Maybe he's running from the law, but whatever it was, I'm sure it wasn't anything, wasn't grand larceny or anything like that. But Lenny, great show with Dave Alvin and Jimmy Dale at the City Winery in April. What a lineup.
They were great. I mean, I didn't know those guys before I went on their Northeast tour for about 2 weeks. They were doing, it was called Almost Acoustic.
Yeah.
Jimmy Dale playing acoustic, Dave playing electric, and they were doing their songs so fantastic. And I just met them, when I drove down to the first show. I'm kind of doing this solo thing because to take a band on the road is a, at this point is a sure bet to be swimming in red ink. But I
Yeah.
like standing. I'm kind of a folk singer. I play electric guitar, do my songs. I read from the books. I make a few humorous asides, perhaps. And we really got along great. It was like we were a brotherhood. And they invited me to join them at the end of their set. We played 6 songs together. And it
Wow.
was just a great thing. And I'm going out to California during record release week and joining them. I do a solo show at Zebulon on Saturday, the 11th, I think. And then we play in Santa Barbara and Morro Beach and Santa Cruz. Then I go to do a couple solo shows in the Bay Area at the Makeout Room in San Francisco and the Ivy Room in the Berkeley area. And then I join them in Berkeley. And, it's just a great little togetherness that we've discovered. And, it communicates to the people because it is intimate. It is, there's not like a lot of stagecraft going on or pyrotechnics or screens or anything. It's just people singing to people. And I like that kind of communication.
Absolutely. And again, I just want to thank the fans for some of their commentary. Leonard L is saying, "Hey, Lenny Kaye, it's your buddy Lenny L."
Hey, Leonard Lombardo. Yeah, baby. I haven't seen you for a while. Hope you're doing well.
There we go, man. That's what we do. Bring people together, not just sell albums. And but now's my time to sell an album. And this is one I stand behind 100%. It's a terrific body of work. And it's the one and only Lenny Kaye and his very first solo album. And it's entitled Goin Local. And there's 12 new tracks. It comes out Friday, July 17th, but Rock and Roll Channel fans on Talk Shop Live can purchase their copies right here, right now. Available on this beautiful colored vinyl, also on CD. And Lenny has graciously agreed to sign a limited number of copies here on the Rock and Roll Channel. When they're gone, they're gone. So remember that. And to order your copies, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live. On Facebook, comment the word shop. We'll DM you a link. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the link inside the description. And there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate this brilliant Renaissance man. I don't know how else to label him, man. He's a jack of so many trades, man. And I'm certainly envious and appreciative to be spending this quality time with the man. A friend like you, love this track, love the guitar work. That's the backdrop of it as well. Just fits like a glove.
Yeah, it's I heard this song. I wrote it. I wrote English lyrics to it because I first heard it in
Paris,
Paris in the 90s. It was an artist named Stefan Eicher, and I just was fascinated with the song. And I always wanted to write, English lyrics to it, which I did. And just a beautiful song.
Absolutely. Be that as it may, May Day comes a time to choose. If something's left to lose, maybe what is gained is a picture that is framed like a teardrop in an eye, whether you or I. Again, pretty powerful lyric.
Well, all real, and what can I say? I've exposed myself on this record. I'm not creating a persona. I'm just being me at my most open. All I can say is, these songs are real, and I live through them, and I try to understand them, and they're all kind of open-ended in a certain way because I don't really resolve them. I just kind of show the situation and how it unreals. And, they're very personal. They're very personal, actually, surprisingly personal. And when listening to you do the lyrics, I think, pretty revealing. My goodness.
Yeah, absolutely. And read like prose as well. And let's check out another track from Lenny's forthcoming new album. Again, Goin Local. Here's a special treat, one that shouldn't be a surprise to anyone in terms of who's guesting on it and who co-wrote it. Here's Solstice. If you would, Sam, please roll the digital.
home. Yet we roam with golden pockets for the longest day. On the longest day. Oh, the longest night. On the longest the summer has died. The winter is nigh. A flicker of heat in the London streets. I feel you there, so far from home. The heart is strung from London to Rome. Everything moves as the sun goes. It's going, it's going. Everything glows as the moon glows. It's glowing, it's glowing. Oh, the longest day. Oh, the longest day. Oh, the longest night. Oh, the longest night. Through your darkest hour. Your darkest hour. Through the stormy bride. The poet bemoans the winter is gone. Everything shrinks when the sun goes down. The derelict zone feels like home. And we waltz with sun in pockets. Summer is done and the winter is nigh. A flicker of heat from the London streets. I feel you there, so far from home. The heart is strung from London to Rome. Everything moves as the sun comes. It's glowing, it's glowing. Everything moves as the moon goes. It's glowing, it's glowing.
Yeah, Solstice. What a beautiful track. The vocals are gorgeous, and of course, this is with Patti Smith, who also co-wrote the track with you. I have to ask you, Lenny. You mentioned, you kind of put your mind. You set that frame of mind when you're writing material specifically for Patti, but in this particular case, you're writing with Patti, but it's for your solo record. So what was the mindset? Because it's kind of like a blend of both, right?
Well, we put this song together. It sounds good, but Patty thought it suited my persona, my new persona, because when I played the record for Patty, she said something which really charmed me. She said, "I've never heard you sound like this before." And I thought, well, that's because I'm a new artist. And we wrote this song and developed it, and I mean, we didn't develop it with me in mind. She could have sung it if she wanted, but she said, "You should sing it. It's you. It has that sense of the celestial that
Yeah.
that you seem to be able to access." So that's what I did. And it's a great thing. I love this song. There's a long coda on it where it gets things a little psychedelic, and
Yeah.
I just really love. I just love it.
It's a great track. Man, I'm gonna breeze through a few of these because the clock's ticking. We could probably have booked 4 hours and still barely skim the surface, but a
I'm ready,
beautiful
Steve.
track.
I'm ready. Cleared my.
I'll tell you what, man, there's a welcome mat with your name on it, to do this, again for sure. World Book Night, beautiful track. That obviously was a nod to that. I guess it was somewhat short lived, but really cool concept. But I wanted to jump to Pennsylvania Girls because first I go, I don't know if I've ever heard of a song written entitled, a nod to Pennsylvania Girls, which is no disrespect whatsoever. I know some great women from Pennsylvania, but as you said, this was kind of personal. And again, I mean, when I first heard it, the opening guitar work, man, had me. And then, you kind of surprised a little bit. There's a gorgeous string arrangement that crops up in here. And just like with some of the other material, the manner in which you approach the production, some of these tracks could have lent itself to have layer upon layer, and that would have smothered the song. These songs breathe.
Oh,
But
thank you,
this one,
thank you. I tried
they
to do
do.
that. When you're in the studio, you can think of a million parts, And
No
then when
doubt.
you come to mix the record, they're all at war with each other.
Yeah.
To me, I want the songs to be able to reveal themselves. And of course, I wrote this song because I do have a Pennsylvania girl at this point,
Yes, you do.
and
You do.
I actually asked her to be my bride last New Year's Day. It's her birthday on New Year's Day, so I surprised her, and she's just a great. She actually wrote some of those lyrics.
I
The
love
one,
that.
you know, Pennsylvania girls fly under the radar, but Pennsylvania girls know they rate, and it's true.
Yeah.
I especially like the one. Pennsylvania girls like to have fun. Pennsylvania girls know how to work a screw gun. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Uh,
it's a great state. I'm proud to be a part of it. And this is my home at this point in my in this universe.
Congratulations to both of you. Let's not forget a Pennsylvania girl will drink you under the table. But moving right along,
And she
uh,
does. Let me tell
and
you.
she does, yeah, and they do. Poppy, wonderfully musically sparse again, but again, it is really interesting arrangement, and I love that one. There's also another track that we're going to play for the outro, and that's entitled "The Things You Leave Behind." This song truly spoke to me. Brilliant track. Again, another great lyric.
Well, we're also, I mean, I'm looking at you, Steve. There's a few things behind you. And if you
You,
go through my house, there's piles and books and records and,
it's like,
everything.
yeah, you scored part of my life. I was like, why haven't I heard a song like this before that spoke to me? And it's yeah, it was spot on.
It's my most popular song live because everybody relates to it. I mean, especially as you get older, you
Yeah.
realize you've accumulated stuff. I mean, I live, as I like to say, in the museum of me.
Yeah, I
I
love
love it
that.
all. And my daughter says to me, Dad, you are going to take care of that stuff, aren't you? You're not going to have me go through it. And I said, Of course I am. There's no
Yeah,
problem. But just keeps getting further
yeah.
and further in the distance.
It sounds very familiar to a conversation I had with both of my daughters. And I go, "You mean you don't want all this stuff? You really?"
Exactly. My daughter's
You
a
know?
minimalist. She's in total reaction to me.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, well,
We love our stuff. I mean, what can
we
I
do.
say? I'm still making records, putting out books, adding to the piles of stuff that the universe is creating. And, I mean, who knows what's going to happen with it? That's the thing.
E exactly right. I don't know, maybe we should, invest in, a time capsule, for ourselves.
Well, I'm going to shut my door. I'm going to put a notice on it. Please open in the year 2130. And somebody will come in and say, "Oh, this is how people lived in the year
E
2026. Look at all
ex
these great records. Oh my God."
exactly. Exactly. Thank goodness we had this to distract us from a lot of other things going on outside the 4 walls.
Here,
But,
here.
yeah. Yes, I will. What a powerfully beautiful track to close this terrific album. If there's anything I can do for you, I'll always come through for you. I'll make your dreams come true for you. Yes, I will. And when things go wrong for you, I will always hang on strong for you. I'll write a happy song for you. Yes, I will. This song is worth the price of admission alone in my book, Lenny. I think it's an instant timeless classic, and love to find out after listening to it that the lyrics to this one was composed by your uncle Larry Cusick, who's uh, absolutely the guy has definitely made his mark as a songwriter. I did not know this, and it's a beautiful story that you tell behind it.
Yeah, I mean, he was, he discovered me as he was my uncle, but he put me in the studio under the name of Lynn Cromwell in the '60s when he hopped on the folk protest bandwagon, Crazy Like a Fox,
Yeah,
which gave me my first taste of I could do this. I had a 45 with my pseudonym on it, and I loved my Uncle Q. And toward the end of his life, I asked him for some lyrics. I said, "Yeah, maybe I can write some music to it." And he gave me this one. And when he was very ill at the end, I just put the lyrics up on the music stand, and the chords fell to hand. And I got to sing it to him the day before he passed from this mortal coil, and he just said thank you. Uh,
Wow.
but it's the most simple song. That's what I love about it. Or
Yeah.
it's just, there's no flowery language. You know, I'll if there's anything I can do for you, if there's any, I'll always come through for you. I'll write a
Yeah.
happy song for you. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. Yes, I will. It's a beautiful, positive message of hope and optimism and belief in the glory and power of music.
Yeah, you should wear this one, like, proudly, for sure. I mean, this is one that will absolutely connect with people. And, and also you also, give a nod to, I think one of your friends, Andy Paley. You also dedicate the song to him, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was supposed to. I did the basic track, guitar and voice, and I sent it to him. He was a great record producer. He worked with Brian Wilson and
Yeah.
SpongeBob. And I wanted Andy to, kind of expand upon it. I sent him the track in September a couple years ago, and he never got to do it because he passed away in November. One of my best friends, we always would be on the phone yawking it up for years. We had so many in jokes and so many, he was just a great musician, a great, super heartful guy. And,
Yeah.
but David Mansfield, luckily, who I've also known, who's worked with Bob Dylan and Ringo and all these kind of people. I knew him, and I asked if he would help, you know, simply play some, arrangement around it, which he did to a beautiful degree. So I'm very, very happy with that. And it closes the album on a kind of positive and simple note, which
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a perfect closer for sure. And again, I just want to remind everyone we're celebrating the one and only Lenny Kaye and his very first solo album, Goin Local, and it features 12 wonderfully newly recorded, I can't say newly written tracks. This has been a work in progress for some time, and it was absolutely worth the wait. And it's releasing officially Friday, July 17th. It's available on this beautiful colored vinyl as well as on CD. And Rock and Roll Channel fans on Talk Shop Live can purchase the copies right here, right now. And as his way of thanking fine fans, Lenny has agreed to sign a limited number of copies of both the vinyl and the CD here on Talk Shop Live. To order your copies before they sell out, hit the shop button on Talk Shop Live on Facebook, comment the word shop, and we'll DM you a link. And if you're watching through YouTube, click the link in the description. And the rest is quick and easy. And there's no greater way to show how much you appreciate great music, let alone this brilliant singer, songwriter, musician, producer, author, Lenny Kaye, again, entitled Going Local. What does the balance of 2026 hold for you, Lenny? You touched on some dates on the West Coast, but what else can you share with us?
I'm playing with Patti and the band at the CBGB Festival in September and Riot Fest in Chicago. That should
Nice.
be kind of exciting. And then I'm going to do some kind of solo shows throughout the fall. I have this idea to do a record store, an independent record store tour, go
Love
where
it.
the records are and, get up there, sing a few songs, sign some albums and meet the people firsthand. This is truly going local. So I'm just like, putting together ideas on how to perform the record and of course keep working on a record. I just love the fact that I can I can go into the studio and realize my sense of as an artist, which is one of the greatest blessings ever.
Absolutely. And I love that you're doing this tour with independent music stores. My background is as a music wholesaler. Worked with close
Yeah,
to a
all I
couple
got to do
thousand
is
of them.
get me a microphone and I'll just show up and sing a
Yeah.
few songs and do some yakking and meet the people. I mean, I
What a
really like,
great way to do it.
I like to keep it local. That's it.
Imagine what a concept. And before we let you go, Lenny, we'd like to thank all the fans for being here this evening and for their support, and also to David Shaw and Mac White and everyone at Yep Rock. As you said, and they're very passionate about the music and
They
the
are.
artist behind it, and that's a very welcome entity in this industry we call the music business. And also thanks to Perry Harrell and the Chris DeBono and our dear friends at Red Eye, who are affiliated, joined at the hip with Yep Rock. Also our fulfillment partners, all media supply that ensure that Lenny's albums and CDs get to you, along with the signed inserts, and to Brian, Sandy, Tina, Brad, Joe, Jenny, Lavani, Marty, Kate, Brendan, behind the scenes is always doing a great job. Sam, all from Talk Shop Live. But most importantly, big thanks to Lenny Kaye for continuing to provide his musical gifts for all of us to enjoy. Lenny, before we part company this evening, any last words you'd like to share with the fans?
Well, I just feel so grateful that I'm able to have realized this album, that I feel it is completely me at this point in my musical life. And, I'm just getting started. I am a new artist, but it's really fun. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for all the people who have written stuff on the side of the screen to say hello. And I just hope to see you out there in the great universe one of these days when I can sing you a song one-on-one.
I'll tell you what, I'd look forward to experiencing that for sure. And you, as I said, you have a welcome mat with your name on it whenever you want. I've got you down for the next album, and love to have you back at some point when you have a break in your career to talk about some of the literary work that you've done.
I'd love it. I love to write. Writing is music is a performance art. Writing is very personal. It's just you and the page in front of you and the word you're trying to place perfectly. But I do believe that there is rhythm and melody in a sentence, and there's a narrative arc in a guitar solo. And I'm privileged to be able to move between each of those poles. But anytime you want to talk about my books or books I like, I'll be happy to yak at will with you, Steve.
I'll take you up on that, and I look forward to it. I appreciate that. And again, pick up the new forthcoming album from Lenny entitled Goin Local at the Rock and Roll Channel Talk Shop Live, personally autographed by the man, the myth, the legend. And while you're at it, pick up copies for friends and family. Music and art is a gift that keeps on giving, one that will last a lifetime. Your friends and family will thank you for it. Father's Day is coming up. You got graduations. You don't need an excuse. You worked hard this year. You deserve it. And I have it on good authority. This album will enhance everyone's quality of life. And let's face it, we could use an upgrade right now. And again, if you love what we're doing here, check out talkshop.live to view hundreds of the very best artists, just like Lenny, who, by the way, have autographed their albums for fans just like you. Lenny, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thank you,
Privilege
Steve.
and
I had
honor.
a great time. It was a great converse and a great conchorus.
I love that. And I'll tell you what, I've got so many takeaways, including listening to that beautiful album that you produced with Jesse, but also some great sayings. So, man, it's very fortuitous for me.
Thank you, brother.
All right. You got it. To be continued with that, everyone. Don't tune out just yet. We've got a beautiful song for you to listen to. Stay safe. Enjoy life. Rock on. So long, everybody. Thanks again, Lenny.
Take care. Appreciations.
Later we're all gonna find that we've made it to the end of the line. It gets heavier every mountain you climb. It's the things you leave behind. It's been one of those years when people keep passing into the past, and you're still here, gonna pick up the pieces of your life and theirs. Who gets what and why? We all cart around a whole lot of baggage that would better be left by the side of the road. Books and records, old clothes and photos, carry
much as the next guy, but you gotta expect that what you find